Modiga människor.
Modiga människor.
Modiga människor. I'm standing here with Alexandra Henrion-Caude. Yeah, and she is a geneticist for RNA, and she's been that for 15 years. And the subject she's talking about here at a conference is "Don't touch my DNA and RNA." And I want you to say something about that theme.
Thank you very much for giving me this possibility of getting in contact with our audience. And I have been in the field of science as a scientist, as a geneticist for around 30 years, but I dedicated my work to RNA in the last 15 years. And it was probably a good idea because a lot has to be done with RNA, and very little is known. We know about DNA, we hear about it a lot, but not so much of RNA. And now we have heard a lot of RNA, but only in a single manner, which is this mRNA injection, genetic injection that we have been offered in a very mandatory manner, to say the least. So what brought me here is really to think at to reflect as to what we could do to in order that the people understand that they have a responsibility to deal with their own health, and that no government whatsoever should be entitled to impose on you a number of measures that are not scientific. Why do I say not scientific? Because, measures that we have gone through were not scientific, such as lockdown, masks, and now vaccine. Vaccine may sound scientific, but it was not, because at the time we said it will be the solution. No product had gone beyond the phase 2 of a clinical trial. That means to say that they were really not advanced at all. And even the CEO of Pfizer himself on March the 10th, 2022, he said to Washington Post in the journal, he said, "I was surprised when the scientists come up to me with this solution, because I knew that no mRNA had ever given any drug or vaccine." So, I think it's good to relate on what he even say himself, and what has been basically we have been facing the biggest experiment on humanity ever, and it's time we think about it instead of saying, what, I did my injection. What can I do? No, you can do something. We can start thinking about how we conceive the next step. Africa is at the moment, seems to be pretty much the target of the next mRNA injection. And it's time to reflect on the good thing, the bad things that have happened.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so fantastic that you're here in Sweden doing this. And I mean, for me, it feels like this is a big wave for humanity to actually getting the information that we need, because it's like, it's beyond, I mean, now we know, we can't say no more that we didn't know.
Well, just like the sentence I said from Burla, we knew that no mRNA had ever given any drug or vaccine. Why would it have not given any drug or vaccine? Because it was not successful. Why was it not successful? Because it failed. Why did it fail? Because that means that the animals or the human tested with the drugs were not very healthy. Otherwise, we would have gone the next phase and
that
just at the pace that we have developed other RNA drugs in the meantime. So other RNA drugs have been developed successfully and delivered to the patients. Meanwhile, the mRNA was just a disaster. So we have to face it, so that people understand that we knew it in advance. So it's not as if we're completely surprised that we have all this catalog of adverse effects. We knew that there were many adverse effects that could take place. We didn't know, at least I was not, I didn't know what to expect, so I didn't know it would go to that extent, I have to say.
So can you tell me about what, the theme here, don't touch my DNA or any RNA, what do we even know what actually will happen?
The answer is no. And the answer is it will be different from everyone. It does touch the... Which, in fact, we need people to understand what we are facing with. We are facing with a genetic product. Genetic product will interfere with your genetic information. And your genetic information is about the control of your system. So it's really important because it dictates the way you do all the interaction. Now, when you throw in let's say an mRNA, a cocktail, because you're so right, it is a cocktail, because few people understand that it's a cocktail of which it is authorized to get 50% degraded. So our European Medical Agency has granted the possibility to the laboratories to go on with the injection, knowing that 50% was actually degraded. Would you give your son or daughter, if you had one, a yogurt from which 50% is perished, or even 5% or whatever is perished? I don't think you would. And I think, people should reflect on that and say, okay, degraded, okay, and do we know what these degraded molecules are going to do because they are genetic molecules, are going to do with your system? Well, it will be different from one another. Do we know if it may impact on my offspring? Well, if I'm a mother, let's say pregnant mother, chances are that, yes, your baby will be exposed to this genetic information. Oof. What about the baby that I'm breastfeeding? Well, same goes with your baby, because we got now 2 publications, and even from the NIH, relating onto the fact that we knew that the RNA was going into the breast milk. So it cannot be neutral to have this genetic information circulating. And also we know that it is being distributed to our ovaries, and in men to their testes. So if it goes up to these organs, that means that it may well be transmitted as well to the next generation. So it's pretty much a question of understanding. And I realize that people don't understand on themselves. You have to take a remote object. So I like to take a tomato. Let's say that you take this tomato now. We have this tomato between you and I. Let's take an apple. It's better. But tomato are more useful as to the genetic modification. I take a syringe. I take an mRNA. I put it into a lipid capsule, and I inject my tomato with this mRNA that is basically from a virus. So it will go into the cells of my tomato, not all the cells, but some of the cells. And because of that, it will prompt the cell, it will impose the cells to produce some material from the virus. How do you call that tomato? Genetically modified organism? Okay, and now when it turns to you, what's the difference? None. No. So, people want to play on words, they can. But at one stage, we really need to face the reality and to understand what it means for the future.
Yeah, and that's the upsetting thing.
And yeah,
all
the challenging thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I really think of the newborn.
Yeah.
And all the mothers carrying babies who are like, they really encourage mothers to take this shot, this jab.
Yes. Same in France. We even went to the extent that our Ministry of Health injected his colleague, a pregnant colleague, in front of the camera. How can you do that?
How can you live with yourself?
I know it's just not medical. I mean, you don't. It's not a movie, thing that to be treated by any sort of surgery or whatever. And we're talking of a medical act. Vaccination is a medical act. You don't. I know that people have kept on now being used to see brainwashed. Being used to see all these images of a needle intruding into somebody's body and injecting a product that has been developed within less than 10 months. Are they okay with it? No, they should not be okay, because it is a very aggressive image to be showing all the time. And it's very intimate. When you are treated by doctors, you don't go on display, okay? You don't show yourself, you don't mediatize yourself, you remain discreet, because it's about her. And the same goes with, are you vaccinated? Well, you know what? It's none of your business. It's just like, am I asking you, do you take vitamin C or D? Maybe you should, but in any cases, it's none of, even if we'd been friends, close friends, I wouldn't ask that to you, because you're my friend. So I don't ask that question. And suddenly we've been so brainwashed and so used to asking this question, and that it seems to me really bad in terms of, the reason why it is intimate, the reason why it is private, it is because it relates to your body. And what you put in your body is involves you yourself in terms of the decision, and will have an impact with all the surrounding of the living creatures. Because now if I am being injected a genetic information that prompts me to produce a viral protein spike, and where we do not have the off button, that means I have become a spike producer. So I used to be a human being, but now I'm a human being spike producer. How is it going to interfere with other bacteria? How is it going to interfere with our environment? Who knows? Who can answer that question to me? Who can dare answering that question to me? And now when we see the differences in terms of the viral behavior that we've seen, we can be a little bit concerned, to say the least.
Then I have this other, you were actually locked out from your country.
Yes, I was.
Where you live.
Yes, somewhere locked down. I was locked out. I was both locked down and locked out. So that's a kind of sacrifice that a number of us have gone through, which is very amazing to have one's life stolen by governments, and it was because of the borders that closed, and so I have my dog, my cat, my students in the lab, and I couldn't go back to Mauritius where I have my lab, and so that was very surprising as well, because it's just like it seems as you're taken your life. You're being stolen your life, and you have to readapt and to be flexible as to live a new life. And in France, the situation is awful, because the doctors, nurses, firemen who did not want to take the jab, we still have the mandate for them, and that means that they were not allowed to work for at least a year, for 40 and 90 days, more than that now, meaning that they were not allowed to take another job. So they had no salary from their job. Maybe they had patients, they could not see the patients anymore. And they were left unemployed when they know that their role is so important to the society. So I think and we call them suspended. So their life is really suspended, and this is also very shameful to have had this situation. So basically, the government took way too much power into the intimacy of us as human beings, and the intimacy in terms of the humanity. Because when I say hands off my genetic heritage, I mean that we are all concerned, because it is about our humanity. It is about what we receive from the past, from the human who have existed before us, and what we will deliver to the offsprings in the future. So we are really at the crossroad where it's high time we realized what we are doing. If we stopped the GMO in plants, in the vegetables we were eating, or we were not accepting it in animals either, that may well mean that we do not have to accept human modified organism. We have to step out, understand, and say, okay, this is about my body, so you don't, you stay away with your needle, stay away with your mandate. If everyone was acting that way, which I find it responsible, we would be in better shape. So we can be in better shape. It's just a matter of who listens to me and who reflects on what I'm saying. Just think about what the treatment to the vegetables and think about the treatment to yourself.
Yeah, but I mean, what happened, actually, it's such an act of violence.
Yes.
And it's hard to actually take in how big it is.
Yes. That's why I would like philosophers to come into the field discussing with us. I would like people from different religions to come and to step up in that discussion, because this is a very important time when we were forced into going into a path that we didn't want to take. Most of the people who got the jab were not really happy about getting the jab. I mean, like when I say most of them, even the old people, it would probably be more than 80% who were not inclined to get it. Yet 80% got it. So it's quite fascinating. It's like 80% who are not very inclined to take it, and 80% who actually receive it at the end of the day. Okay, that's done. Now, first of all, let's fix the injuries. And that's, I've been dedicating so I've been putting a lot of energies to alert the people so that they wouldn't take the jab. Once they took the jab, I said, you know what, now I'm going to work with you to help you repair your injuries, because the doctors say, I don't know, you've got this turbo cancer, this cancer that goes so fast. I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. You cannot go on to chemotherapy because it will not work. No, you can do something. I believe that we can do something. We have to do something. And that's what I am very hopeful that we do here, is that we get together. We want everyone on board, even the doctors who injected. They have to come along to say, you know what, I injected my daughter. She got a stroke. I'm talking of an example that I know personally. And she died in my sofa at my home. But instead of saying it's not the jab, I'm going to say maybe it is after all, because I've seen all these scientific publications about the fact that post-jab you had all this stroke. So now I'm coming with you to discuss. We may not agree all the time, which is even better, but we will confront, and thereby we will find solutions to repair what I believe is the major public health concern from now on, because so many got it.
Oh, you answered my last question there.
I mean,
yeah, and it's how you see what you think about the future, but you got it included.
Okay, cool. Well, the future is always in the present, I believe.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I feel so hopeful now.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, that's what it is. And we went through a horrible time of these 3 years, past 3 years, but a lot of positive things happened as well. That is to say that it destroyed the little comfort zone that we had built around us all. You had to go out to meet people that you wouldn't have met, and that is the good thing that I believe was not expected, is that the socially, country, nationwide, it had really exploded the whole thing, and now it's like it seems as though a lot of interaction have gone that would have never taken place. That's a wealth. This is about communication and confronting differences, so it's perfect. So that's something positive that came out. I always said that if you want to go back to the surface, you need to reach the bottom. Unfortunately, we have to reach that bottom to be sure enough to push hard and to go back to the surface. So, that's what we have to do. And I like to say that my 2023 program is about BDD. BDD for build down divisions. We have seen divisions in our families. We have seen divisions in the society, in the medical doctors, in science. It's time we build down division, time for BDD, and victory will be ours.